So the next time that we really spot Markus on the radar is he's sitting next to Meghan at the opening ceremony of the Invictus Games. And it's amazing when you look at that footage back because you realise just how far Prince Harry has dropped.
The next time Markus shows up publicly, he's seated beside Meghan at the Invictus Games opening ceremony. And when you look back at that moment now, it feels symbolic because it quietly shows how far Prince Harry's world has shifted. Picture this. It's meant to be a calm stretch in Montecito, the California dream on display, new lifestyle launches, streaming projects, carefully curated family moments. Markus Anderson is supposed to be the silent friend, the connector who never speaks, the man who stays in the background. But something changes because whispers start circulating in elite social circles, and suddenly reports begin appearing online claiming Markus may finally be ready to talk, not in vague hints, but with specifics, names, timelines, and details from Meghan's earlier years that were never meant to resurface. And if even part of what's being rumored is true, it reframes the entire story people thought they understood. Because the same man who helped open doors may also be the one who reveals how those doors were opened in the first place. And from there, things only get more complicated. What makes this matter is who Markus actually is. He isn't just a casual friend. For years, he was a central figure inside an exclusive global members network, someone who controlled access, introductions, and opportunities. During Meghan's Toronto years, she was frequently seen alongside him, always present at private gatherings, always meeting the right people, always placing herself where influence flowed. This isn't speculation. Even respected royal authors have confirmed that when Harry first wanted to meet Meghan, it was Markus who arranged the setting, a small private gathering designed to feel natural but perfectly orchestrated. And that's where the questions begin, because if Markus facilitated that introduction, what else did he arrange during those years? People close to the situation now claim Markus is frustrated by being erased from the public narrative, left out of documentaries, obscured in photos, never acknowledged despite the role he played in shaping key moments. Frustrated by watching a carefully polished story generate global success while his own involvement is quietly rewritten out of existence. According to online chatter, he feels used, then discarded, and that sense of resentment is reportedly growing stronger. Sources claim Markus knows every connection Meghan made during that period because tracking relationships and interactions was part of his professional world. Allegedly, records exist showing who introduced whom, who provided access to what experiences, and how certain opportunities aligned with specific timelines. None of this has been officially released, and no major outlet has confirmed documentation, but the consistency of the rumors has caught attention. Observers say the pieces fit too neatly to ignore. The big question is, why now? Some believe it's because increased scrutiny on exclusive private networks has made past operations harder to shield. Others say it's personal, that Markus is tired of watching a story being told that he knows isn't complete. One alleged insider put it simply, he's done protecting a version of events that leaves him carrying the truth alone, while others profit from selective memory. And then there's Harry. People close to him claim he's struggling with what he's hearing. He believed the story was simple, an organic meeting, a natural connection, a shared journey forward. But now, with growing speculation that the introduction was part of a much longer strategy, he's reportedly re-examining everything. Friends say he's quieter, more distant, spending time revisiting old messages and memories, trying to separate sincerity from presentation. One source described it as watching someone realize that what felt like fate may have been planning. What's also emerging is that this isn't only about one individual. The discussion has expanded to how elite social clubs actually functioned during that era. Online reports describe environments where ambition, influence, and opportunity intersected behind closed doors, where introductions were currency and access had value. Whether exaggerated or not, these claims are forcing uncomfortable questions, because if even a portion is accurate, it challenges the polished image many people accepted without scrutiny. Observers also point out how much online content from Meghan's early lifestyle blog disappeared just before her royal chapter began. Travel stories, luxury experiences, and social moments that once painted an aspirational picture were quietly removed. Supporters say it was a normal cleanup. Critics argue it suggests something more intentional. According to rumors, Marcus may still have the context behind those moments, the explanations that were never shared publicly. Meanwhile, reports suggest tension behind the scenes in Montecito. Emergency meetings, discussions about managing narratives, and quiet legal consultations are all rumored to be happening. Nothing confirmed, but enough chatter exists to keep speculation alive. And if Marcus truly decides to speak openly, many believe no amount of public relations strategy could fully contain the fallout. So where does this go? Maybe nothing materializes and the story stays in the realm of online debate. Maybe selective truths emerge without full clarity. Or maybe the person who helped shape the dream decides he's done protecting it. What's certain is this: when someone who knows every chapter of your rise grows tired of silence, the story changes. Because the most powerful secrets aren't held by enemies, they're held by friends who were there from the beginning. And if those friends decide the truth matters more than loyalty, the image cracks, the narrative shifts, and the fairy tale is never quite the same again. As this story continues unfolding, what's becoming impossible to ignore is how many people are now re-examining the past through a completely different lens. Moments that once looked random now appear carefully timed. Connections that seemed coincidental now feel intentional. And at the center of it all is Marcus, the one constant presence who never sought attention but allegedly knows exactly how the game was played. People who followed Meghan's rise closely are starting to notice patterns they once overlooked. Access to high-level social circles long before global recognition, travel experiences that didn't align with a modest entertainment career at the time, introductions that led to opportunities others spent years chasing. According to online chatter, none of this happens by accident. It happens because someone understood how elite spaces work, how to position ambition, and how to place the right person in the right room at the right moment. And this is where the tension with Harry reportedly deepens. Sources claim he's beginning to understand that influence doesn't always announce itself, that strategy doesn't look dramatic from the outside. Sometimes it looks charming. Sometimes it looks effortless. Sometimes it looks like luck. Friends allegedly say he's grappling with the idea that what felt like organic connection may have been the final move in a long, carefully planned journey. Not malicious, not cruel, but calculated in a way that changes everything once you see it. What's striking is that Marcus himself has never publicly contradicted the official story. He hasn't rushed to interviews, he hasn't posted cryptic messages. He simply remained present, watching narratives shift while his role quietly fades. And that silence is exactly why people believe that if he does speak, it won't be emotional, it won't be messy, and it won't be vague. It would be factual, structured, and hard to dismiss. Observers online are also pointing out how quickly alliances seem to change once public attention shifts. Platforms that once promoted glowing collaborations have stepped back. Projects that were announced with confidence quietly disappeared. Support that felt guaranteed now feels conditional. And when that happens, people tend to reassess who they trust and who they protect. According to rumors, that reassessment is happening on all sides. What complicates everything further is how tightly controlled public images are at this level. Every statement is vetted, every appearance is intentional, every silence sends a message. And yet, despite all that control, speculation keeps growing, not because of leaks alone, but because of inconsistencies, stories that don't quite line up, timelines that raise questions, details that were once brushed off now feel unresolved. Some believe Marcus holds more than just memories. They believe he holds context, the kind that explains not just what happened, but why. Why certain paths were taken, why certain people were prioritized, why some chapters were erased while others were amplified. And context is powerful because it doesn't accuse, it explains. It doesn't dramatize, it clarifies. Meanwhile, Harry is reportedly caught between loyalty and realization. People close to him say he understands ambition, he respects drive, but learning that he may have been part of a larger plan rather than a spontaneous love story is something he's struggling to process, not because it negates emotion, but because it reframes it. And once a story is reframed, you can't unsee it. So now, the question isn't just whether Marcus will speak, it's what happens if he doesn't need to. Because sometimes, silence combined with timing does more than words ever could. Sometimes the absence of denial is louder than any confirmation. And sometimes, the truth doesn't arrive as a dramatic reveal, but as a slow realization that the story you believed was never the full version. People are watching closely now, not just royal watchers or online commentators, but anyone fascinated by how power, image, and ambition intersect behind closed doors. Because this isn't just about one relationship or one introduction, it's about how narratives are built, how influence works quietly, and how easily perception can be shaped when the right people are protecting the right version of events. And if Marcus truly decides he's done protecting that version, then what comes next won't be explosive in the way people expect. It will be subtle, documented, calm, and irreversible. Because the most unsettling revelations aren't the ones shouted loudly, they're the ones delivered plainly by someone who was there the entire time, watching, waiting, and finally deciding that silence no longer serves anyone. By now, the focus isn't just on what might be revealed, but on how carefully everything has been managed for years. People who understand public influence say the most effective narratives aren't loud, they're consistent. Repeat something often enough, polish it carefully, remove inconvenient details, and eventually it becomes accepted truth. That's why this moment feels different, because for the first time, that consistency appears to be cracking. Online observers are noticing how language has shifted. Stories are being retold with softer edges. Past events are framed differently depending on the audience. And when narratives start adjusting instead of standing firm, it usually means pressure is building behind the scenes. According to speculation, teams are working overtime not to promote new projects, but to contain old ones. What makes Marcus such a central figure in all of this is that he doesn't need to interpret events. He witnessed them. He facilitated introductions. He watched dynamics form in real time. People say that gives him a unique position because he doesn't rely on emotion or hindsight. He relies on sequence. Who met whom? When it happened, what followed, and sequence doesn't lie. There's also growing discussion about how ambition is often misunderstood. Wanting success isn't wrong, wanting influence isn't unusual, but when ambition is paired with strategic silence and selective storytelling, it changes how people interpret the journey. According to those watching closely, this is the shift Harry may be experiencing now, not anger, but clarity. The realization that emotions and strategy can exist at the same time, and that recognizing one doesn't erase the other. Another detail people keep circling back to is loyalty. Marcus was loyal for a long time, loyal enough to stay invisible, loyal enough to never correct public assumptions, loyal enough to let others rewrite history while he stayed quiet. And when someone like that reaches a breaking point, it's rarely about revenge, it's about fairness, about not wanting to be erased from a story you helped create. Speculation continues that if Marcus ever speaks publicly, it won't be framed as accusation, it would likely be framed as explanation, a simple account of how elite spaces operate, how introductions are made, how opportunity often looks accidental from the outside, but is intentional on the inside. And that kind of explanation can be more powerful than scandal because it invites people to connect the dots themselves. Meanwhile, Harry's situation reportedly feels increasingly isolated. People say he's stepping back not to create drama, but to think, to understand what parts of his life were driven by emotion and which parts were shaped by circumstance. Friends allegedly describe him as reflective rather than reactive, aware that any public move would only add noise to a situation that already feels overwhelming. What's also interesting is how public attention has shifted. This isn't being fueled by official statements or media campaigns, it's being fueled by curiosity, by people noticing patterns, by questions that don't go away simply because they're ignored. And curiosity, once activated, is difficult to control. Some believe this moment represents a turning point, not a dramatic collapse, but a slow unraveling of a carefully constructed image. When trust begins to erode, it doesn't shatter all at once, it wears thin. And when enough people start questioning the same things, the narrative no longer belongs to one person or one team, it becomes collective. At its core, this story isn't about exposure, it's about realization, about understanding how power moves quietly, how stories are shaped deliberately, and how the people who seem least visible often hold the clearest view of how everything actually works. Whether Marcus ever steps forward or not, the effect is already happening. People are reassessing, timelines are being reconsidered, assumptions are being challenged, and once that process begins, there's no way to rewind it. Because in the end, the most unsettling truth isn't that someone planned their rise, it's that so many people believed the rise had no plan at all. And when that illusion fades, what's left isn't scandal, it's clarity.